The void of space, cold and indifferent, had long forgotten the pulse of human ingenuity. 300 years since the fall of the Terran Dominion, the stars no longer trembled at the approach of human warships. The great fleets that once commanded respect across thousands of systems had been reduced to legends. Stories told to frighten children or dismissed as hyperbole by scholars who believed humanity's greatest achievements had been exaggerated by time. In the neutral zone, that vast stretch of ice-laden space where jurisdiction blurred and only the desperate or determined ventured, a salvage crew's transmission cut through the silence. "This is Salvage Team Orion, reporting anomalous energy signatures beneath ice field RX-419. The voice crackled with static, tension evident despite the poor connection. I think we found something big, something military, something Terran." The transmission continued, words tumbling out with growing excitement and fear. "The readings are off the charts. We're detecting a power signature consistent with... Wait, this can't be right. A Sentinel-class supercarrier? That's impossible. The last one was destroyed during the fall. We're sending coordinates now and..." The transmission abruptly ended. Across dozens of systems, that final transmission became a whisper, then a rumor, then a source of frantic activity as various factions mobilized to investigate. Most dismissed it as yet another false claim, the space equivalent of crying wolf. But for one man, it was the confirmation of a lifetime's belief. Captain Nathan Hale stood on the bridge of the Iron Reaper, a patchwork vessel that somehow still bore the proud lines of its Terran naval heritage, despite centuries of repairs and modifications. His weathered face, lined with the marks of battles both won and lost, remained impassive as he studied the transmission coordinates. "Those coordinates," he said quietly, running a finger along the datapad's surface. "They match." His executive officer, Captain Briggs, looked up with a frown. "Match what, exactly?" Nathan didn't answer immediately. Instead, retrieving an old data chip from his pocket, a relic passed down through generations of his family. "The legendary coordinates, the resting place of the Horizon." Briggs snorted. "The Horizon? You're chasing ghosts again. Hale? That ship's been nothing but a myth for centuries. Even if it existed, the GSC would have found and dismantled it long ago. The Galactic Security Council," Nathan spat the name like a curse, "has been too busy erasing our history to look where they should. The Horizon was the pride of the Terran fleet, our greatest achievement. And if these coordinates are correct, she's been waiting all this time, preserved in ice." "And the salvage crew? What happened to them?" Nathan's jaw tightened. "That's what we're going to find out." The decision was made without further debate. Nathan Hale had spent his life searching for remnants of humanity's glory, navigating the thin line between salvager and rebel. If there was even a chance the Horizon still existed, he would find it. The Iron Reaper altered course, leaving the relative safety of established space lanes for the treacherous expanse of the neutral zone. The journey took 3 days. 3 days of tense silence as the crew prepared for whatever awaited them. The Iron Reaper was no warship, not in the traditional sense. Once a Terran corvette, it had been modified and repurposed so many times that little of its original design remained. But it was theirs, and it was human. As they approached the coordinates, Lennox, their communications officer, straightened in her chair. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the ice field ahead. Some kind of resonance." Nathan moved to stand behind her, eyes narrowing as he studied the readings. "Magnitude?" "Increasing rapidly. I've never seen patterns like these before." Before Nathan could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Through the forward viewports, they watched as a massive crack appeared in the ice field, stretching for kilometers. Brilliant blue light pulsed from beneath the fractured surface. "All stop," Nathan ordered, his voice calm despite the rising tension. Maintain position and ready all sensors. I want full spectrum analysis of whatever's down there." For hours, they watched as the ice continued to crack and shift, revealing glimpses of what lay beneath. Metal. Dark, light-absorbing metal of a composition that predated modern alloys. The scattered remains of the salvage vessel were visible now, crushed between moving sheets of ice. "Something killed them," Briggs muttered, standing at Nathan's shoulder. "Something woke up down there and didn't like visitors." Nathan nodded grimly. "Or something protected them from visitors it liked even less." He gestured to a distant cluster of lights at the edge of their sensor range. "We're not alone anymore. Looks like Orion Syndicate ships. And that configuration there? GSC patrol vessels." "Wonderful." Briggs didn't bother hiding his sarcasm. "Just what we needed. Pirates and government thugs." "Captain," Lennox called, her voice tight. "Incoming transmission from the Orion Syndicate flagship." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the scarred face of Commander Greaves, his non-human features twisted in what passed for a smile among his species. "Captain Hale, I should have known you'd be sniffing around. This salvage is Syndicate territory now. Leave while I'm still feeling generous." Nathan didn't flinch. "This isn't salvage, Greaves. This is heritage. Terran heritage." "Heritage," Greaves laughed, the sound like gravel in a grinder. "Your kind lost the right to claim heritage when you lost the war. Everything that remains belongs to whoever finds it first. That's the law of the void." "There are older laws," Nathan replied evenly. Before Greaves could respond, another transmission cut in, this one bearing the unmistakable signature of the Galactic Security Council. "This is Captain Karras of the GSC Enforcement Division," a stern woman announced, her uniform immaculate, her expression hard. "All vessels are ordered to vacate this sector immediately. By authority of Council Directive 1157, any Terran military technology is subject to immediate containment and disposal. Failure to comply will result in forceful removal." Nathan cut the transmission without responding, turning instead to his crew. "They're scared," he said, satisfaction evident in his voice. "Both of them. They know what we found." "And what exactly have we found, Captain?" Briggs asked, no longer bothering to hide his skepticism. Instead of answering, Nathan issued new orders. "Launch our deep core scanning probe. Target the largest concentration of metal beneath the ice, and prepare the Ghost Shuttle for boarding operations." Briggs stared at him in disbelief. "Boarding? We don't even know what's down there." "I know," Nathan said, his eyes fixed on the increasingly visible shape beneath the ice. "It's the horizon, and she's waking up." The probe descended through a narrow fissure in the ice, its powerful scanners penetrating layers of frozen water and debris. On the Iron Reaper's bridge, the crew watched in silence as the data streamed back, reconstructing a three-dimensional image of what lay entombed below. It was a ship, but not just any ship, even buried and dormant. The horizon dwarfed any vessel in the assembled fleet above, nearly 2 kilometers in length, its hull bristling with weapon emplacements that made modern armaments look like toys. A Terran Sentinel-class supercarrier, the last and greatest achievement of human military engineering before the fall. As the scan completed, something unexpected happened. The probe's signal stuttered, then changed frequency. It was being repurposed, its transmission capability hijacked by something far more sophisticated. A stream of data flowed back to the Iron Reaper, ancient Terran military code, dormant for centuries, but now suddenly active. On screens across the bridge, symbols and schematics flashed, culminating in 5 words that sent a chill through even the most hardened crew members. Preservation Protocol, Human Continuity Initiative. Deep within the ice, lights began to activate along the horizon's hull. Massive gun turrets, each capable of destroying a modern capital ship with a single shot, slowly rotated toward the surface. power signatures that had been dormant for generations suddenly flared to life. And in that moment, the galaxy changed forever. The ice field exploded upward as ancient engines engaged, pushing aside millennia of accumulated ice with contemptuous ease. The horizon didn't merely emerge, it rose, majestic and terrible, water cascading from its hull like a god ascending from the primordial deep. Alarms blared across every ship in the vicinity. The Orion Syndicate vessels began emergency maneuvers, frantically trying to establish a safe distance. The GSC patrol, more disciplined but no less afraid, formed a defensive perimeter, weapons charged but not yet firing. "They won't shoot first," Nathan said, watching the display with calm satisfaction. "They can't. One wrong move and they'll trigger the Horizon's automated defense systems. Systems designed to fight wars against entire fleets." "And us?" Briggs asked, his skepticism finally giving way to awe. "What exactly is our play here, Captain? That thing isn't just going to let us walk in and take control." Nathan turned to him, a fierce light in his eyes. "Not take control. Briggs, reclaim. I'm a Hale. My ancestors served on that ship. Their access codes are still in the system, dormant but not deleted." He held up the data chip. "This contains my family's service history, biometric data, and command authorization dating back to the final days of the Dominion. If the Horizon's AI is intact, it will recognize me as the highest-ranking Terran officer present. And if it doesn't?" Nathan's smile was thin. "Then, we'll have front-row seats to one hell of a light show when it decides we're all threats." The Ghost Shuttle launched from the Iron Reaper's small hangar bay, a sleek, dark shape designed for stealth rather than comfort. Inside, Nathan led a team of 5, himself, Briggs, and 3 specialists chosen for their unique skills. Each wore an antiquated Terran naval uniform, meticulously reconstructed from historical records. "Remember," Nathan said as they approached the now exposed command deck of the Horizon, "move slowly, speak clearly, and for God's sake don't make any sudden movements. The ship's defense systems will be on high alert." They docked at an auxiliary airlock, the Ghost systems interfacing with protocols centuries out of date. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, with a hiss of equalizing pressure, the airlock cycled open. The corridors of the Horizon were dark, illuminated only by emergency lighting that cast everything in a deep red glow. Despite 300 years of entombment, the interior was remarkably preserved, the result of advanced stasis technology that had protected the ship from time itself. They moved cautiously toward the bridge, following schematics displayed on their portable devices. Occasionally, they passed automated defense turrets, their targeting systems tracking the team's movement, but not firing. Yet. "It's evaluating us," Briggs muttered, eyeing a particularly menacing turret. "Trying to determine if we're a threat." "It's doing more than that," Nathan replied. "It's accessing genetic records, comparing our DNA to its database of authorized personnel." When they reached the bridge, the massive doors slid open without prompting. Inside, terminals were already activating, screens flickering to life after centuries of dormancy. At the center, a holographic interface shimmered into existence, the physical manifestation of the ship's artificial intelligence. "Identify yourself," it demanded, its voice resonant yet unmistakably synthetic. Nathan stepped forward, standing tall despite the weight of history pressing down upon him. "I am Captain Nathan Hale, descended from Commander Alara Hale of the Terran Dominion Navy. I have come to reactivate the Horizon in accordance with the Human Continuity Initiative." There was a pause, the AI processing his claim, comparing his genetic signature to its records, evaluating the probability that this was, indeed, a legitimate Terran officer standing before it after 3 centuries of isolation. Finally, it spoke again. "Genetic verification confirmed. Provisional command authority granted to Captain Nathan Hale." The bridge fully illuminated, revealing a command center that dwarfed anything on a modern vessel. This was not merely a warship. It was the pinnacle of human military achievement, designed to project power across an empire that had spanned hundreds of worlds. "Status report," Nathan ordered, settling into the captain's chair as if born to it. "The Horizon is at 78% operational capacity." The AI responded. "Main weapon systems are online. Defensive systems are at full capability. Engine core is functional but requires calibration after extended dormancy. Detecting multiple vessels in proximity, designated as potential threats." "Belay threat designation," Nathan quickly countermanded. "The Iron Reaper is a friendly vessel. All others are to be monitored, but not engaged unless they initiate hostile action." Outside, the assembled ships maintained their distance, none willing to risk provoking the awakened giant. On their bridges, frantic communications were underway, requesting instructions, reinforcements, or simply trying to make sense of what was happening. Nathan opened a channel to the Iron Reaper. "Lennox, inform all vessels in the vicinity that the Terran Sentinel-class Supercarrier Horizon is now under my command. Any hostile action will be met with appropriate response." "Appropriate response?" Briggs raised an eyebrow. "That's one way of putting it. What would you prefer? We'll turn you into subatomic particles?" Nathan shook his head. "They need to understand we're not looking for a fight." "Aren't we?" Briggs gestured to the weapons console. "We're targeting solutions for every ship in the vicinity. We're already prepared. This ship was built for war. Hale, that's its purpose." "Its purpose," Nathan replied firmly, "is to ensure human survival and independence. And that's exactly what we're going to use it for." Before Briggs could respond, alarms sounded across the bridge. The AI's voice cut through the noise. "Multiple vessels entering the system. Configuration matches Galactic Security Council heavy combat units. Detecting targeting sensors active." Nathan's expression hardened. "So much for diplomacy. Bring the main engines to full power, activate shield grid, and open a channel to all frequencies." When the connection was established, he spoke with a clarity and conviction that carried to every ship in the system. "This is Captain Nathan Hale of the Terran Supercarrier Horizon. I claim this vessel by right of heritage and survival. We have no quarrel with any peaceful entity, but we will defend ourselves if threatened." The response was immediate and predictable. The GSC fleet commander's voice was cold with fury. "This vessel is prohibited Terran military technology. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Nathan cut the transmission, turning to Briggs with a grim smile. "And there it is, the GSC showing its true colors. They don't want peace. They want to ensure humans never rise again." "So what now?" Briggs asked. "We can't fight the entire GSC." "We don't have to." Nathan activated the tactical display, studying the approaching fleet. "We just need to show them we can fight. Sometimes, the demonstration is enough." As the GSC fleet moved into attack formation, the Horizon's defenses activated fully. A shimmering energy field enveloped the massive ship, technologies long thought lost, rendering it virtually impervious to modern weapons. The first shots came from an overeager GSC destroyer, its main guns firing a barrage that dissipated harmlessly against the Horizon's shields. "No response yet," Nathan ordered as his crew tensed. "Let them fire first, second, and third. I want every ship in this system to witness their aggression." The GSC continued its approach, more ships joining the barrage, still without effect. Then, at a signal from their commander, they launched a coordinated missile attack, hundreds of warheads streaking toward the Horizon from multiple vectors. "Now," Nathan said calmly, "target their missiles only. Point defense systems. Engage." From the Horizon's hull, countless defense turrets activated, firing with precision that modern targeting systems couldn't match. The incoming missiles detonated well before reaching the shields, creating a spectacular but harmless light show. "Second phase," Nathan continued. Target the lead GSC vessel. Minimum power demonstration only. A single weapon emplacement on the Horizon's bow swiveled toward the GSC flagship. There was a moment of building energy, a hum that resonated through the ship's structure, and then a beam of concentrated particles lanced out, striking the GSC vessel's shields. The shields didn't just fail, they collapsed catastrophically, the energy bleeding through to damage the hull beneath. The GSC ship listed to one side, emergency systems activating as power fluctuations cascaded through its systems. "Channel open," Nathan commanded. "All GSC vessels." That was approximately 5% of this weapon's capacity. "The next demonstration will not be a demonstration. Withdraw your forces immediately." For a tense moment, it seemed the GSC might press the attack, despite the overwhelming display of force. Then, reluctantly, their ships began to pull back, maintaining weapon locks but no longer advancing. "They're regrouping," Briggs observed. "This isn't over." "It never is," Nathan agreed. "But we've bought time. And sometimes, that's all you need." As if in answer to his words, new contacts appeared on the tactical display, ships emerging from hyperspace at the system's edge. But these weren't GSC reinforcements. Their configuration was different, older, with modifications that spoke of resourcefulness rather than standardization. "Incoming transmission," Lennox reported from the Iron Reaper, her voice tense but controlled. "They're identifying themselves as the Free Terran Remnant." Nathan's eyes widened in genuine surprise. The Remnant was thought to be little more than a rumor, scattered survivors of the Dominion who had escaped the purges, maintaining their independence in the shadows. To see them here, now, was a revelation. The transmission connected, revealing a stern-faced man whose uniform, while modified and worn, clearly denoted high rank in the old Terran Navy. "This is Commander Gareth of the Free Terran Remnant. I see the legends were true after all. The Horizon lives." Nathan nodded respectfully. "Commander, your arrival is unexpected but welcome." Gareth's expression remained guarded. "We've monitored your awakening of the Horizon. Impressive, but dangerous. What exactly do you intend to do with a weapon that could destabilize the entire galactic order?" "Restore balance," Nathan replied without hesitation. "For 3 centuries, humans have been marginalized, our colonies exploited, our rights denied. The Horizon isn't just a weapon, it's a symbol, a reminder that humanity will not be erased." Gareth studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Bold words. But the GSC won't retreat for long. They'll return with a fleet large enough to overwhelm even the Horizon. Then, we don't wait for them to regroup," Nathan said, a plan already forming. "We act now, decisively. There's a Terran mining colony at New Thessia, being exploited by GSC-backed corporations. The people there have been fighting for independence for generations." "You want to liberate a colony?" Gareth's surprise was evident. "With an untested crew on a ship that's been dormant for centuries? Sometimes the boldest move is the one your enemy least expects," Nathan countered. "The GSC believes we'll hide, consolidate, build our strength carefully. Instead, we show the galaxy that humanity is not just surviving, it's fighting back." After a brief consultation with his own officers, Gareth made his decision. "The Remnant will support this action. Our ships are at your disposal, Captain Hale." With the Remnant's fleet alongside them, a dozen vessels of varying sizes, all bearing the marks of hard use and ingenious modifications, the Horizon set course for New Thessia. The massive ship's engines, designed for swift strategic deployment across an empire, easily outpaced the pursuing GSC vessels. New Thessia hung in space before them, a world rich in resources, but poor in autonomy. Orbital platforms bristled with weapons aimed not at external threats, but at the population below. GSC and corporate vessels maintain tight control over all incoming and outgoing traffic. "They've detected us," Briggs reported, as alarms sounded across the defensive platforms. "Orbital defenses are targeting. Ground-based ion cannons powering up." Nathan stood from the captain's chair, surveying the tactical display. "All remnant vessels, take up screening positions. Protect the Horizon's flanks but do not engage unless fired upon. Open a channel to the new Thessia Defense Force." When the connection was established, he spoke with calm authority. "This is Captain Nathan Hale of the Terran Supercarrier Horizon. We have come to support New Thessia's bid for independence. Lower your weapons and join us, or stand aside. The choice is yours." The response was immediate and hostile. "This is Defense Coordinator Merrick. New Thessia is a protectorate of the Galactic Security Council. Any attempt at interference will be met with lethal force." "They're not going to listen," Gareth said, over a private channel. "The GSC has their loyalty, or at least their fear." "Then we'll have to be persuasive," Nathan replied. "Target their orbital weapon platforms. Precision strikes only. I want those platforms disabled, not destroyed." The Horizon's weapons fired. Not the overwhelming barrages of destruction it was capable of, but surgical strikes that disabled communications arrays, power cores, and weapon systems while leaving the structures themselves intact. Within minutes, the orbital defenses hung silent and powerless. "Now the ground-based defenses," Nathan continued. "Same protocol. Disable. Don't destroy." Before the Horizon could fire again, however, something unexpected happened. The ground-based ion cannons, rather than targeting the approaching ships, turned and fired on the remaining GSC vessels in orbit, across all frequencies. A new voice broadcast. A woman, her tone fierce with long-suppressed fury. "This is Governor Alana of New Thessia. For too long, we have suffered under GSC exploitation. No more. The Defense Force stands with its people today. All GSC and corporate personnel are ordered to evacuate immediately." Nathan exchanged a surprised look with Briggs. "It seems we had more allies than we knew." The liberation of New Thessia unfolded with surprising speed. With the orbital defenses neutralized and the ground-based weapons under rebel control, the GSC forces had little choice but to retreat. Corporate administrators were rounded up by the local population, their assets seized in the name of the newly declared independent government. On the surface, Nathan met with Governor Alana and her hastily assembled council. The meeting room, once a corporate administrative center, now served as the headquarters for a revolution. "You've done the impossible," Alana said, her eyes bright with emotion. "For generations, we've dreamed of freedom, but the GSC's grip seemed unbreakable." "This is just the beginning," Nathan cautioned. "The GSC won't accept this loss. They'll return in force, determined to make an example of New Thessia." "Then what do you propose?" one of the counselors asked, fear evident beneath his defiance. "We can't stand against a full GSC fleet, even with your Horizon." "Not alone," Nathan agreed. "But you're not alone anymore. The Free Terran Remnant stands with you, and soon, other colonies will join us." "How can you be sure?" Alana asked. Nathan smiled grimly. "Because the GSC's greatest weapon has always been fear. Fear that resistance is futile, that no help will come, that standing up means standing alone. Today, we've proven that false, and word will spread." As if to confirm his words, Lennox approached with an urgent report. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions from Terran settlements across 3 sectors. They've heard about New Thessia. They're asking if the rumors are true, if the Horizon has really returned." "Tell them it's true," Nathan replied. "Tell them humanity is reclaiming its place among the stars." The liberation of New Thessia sent shockwaves across GSC-controlled space. As Nathan had predicted, other human colonies began to stir, centuries of resentment finding new voice. But the GSC's response was swift and ruthless. They're mobilizing their entire home fleet, Gareth reported during an emergency meeting aboard the Horizon. 17 capital ships, dozens of support vessels. They're making for the Orath Nexus. Nathan studied the strategic display, eyes narrowing. The Nexus is their primary supply hub for this entire sector. If they're consolidating there, they're preparing to crush New Thessia and make an example of it. Gareth finished. Standard GSC doctrine. Overwhelming force applied publicly to discourage others from following suit. Then we don't let them gather that force. Nathan decided. We strike the Nexus before their fleet assembles, cut off their supply lines, destroy their fuel reserves, and deny them the staging ground they need. Briggs shook his head in disbelief. You want to attack the Orath Nexus? It's one of the most heavily defended installations in GSC space. Heavily defended against conventional threats, Nathan corrected. Not against a Sentinel-class supercarrier thought lost to history. Not against tactics they've never encountered. The plan was audacious to the point of insanity. While the main GSC fleet was still en route, the Horizon and a small contingent of remnant ships would make a precision jump to the Orath Nexus. Rather than engaging the defense platforms directly, they would target the massive fuel repositories that supplied the GSC fleet. Without those reserves, the gathering armada would be unable to launch a sustained campaign against New Thessia or any other rebellious colony. We'll need a diversion, Gareth pointed out. Something to draw attention away from the fuel depots long enough for us to strike. The remnant vessels will provide that, Nathan said. Hit-and-run attacks on their outer defenses, making them think it's a full-scale assault. Meanwhile, the Horizon will position for a direct strike on the central repositories. It was a plan built on timing, coordination, and the element of surprise, all factors that could dissolve in the chaos of battle. But it was also their best chance to protect what they had started. The Orath Nexus loomed before them like an artificial moon, its surface bristling with defense platforms and docking facilities. Already, several GSC warships had arrived, their profiles menacing against the backdrop of space. All ships, execute jump sequence on my mark, Nathan ordered from the Horizon's bridge. Remember, precision is key. We hit our targets and withdraw before they can mount an organized response. The jump was flawless. The Horizon and its remnant escorts appearing practically on top of the Nexus's outer defenses. Immediately, the smaller remnant ships began their attack run, weapons blazing as they targeted communication arrays and sensor platforms. Alarms blared across the Nexus as its defenders scrambled to respond to the unexpected assault. Defense platforms rotated, tracking the swift-moving remnant vessels, while docked warships hastily powered up their systems. Meanwhile, the Horizon moved with surprising grace for a vessel of its size, positioning itself for a clear shot at the central fuel repositories. Its advanced stealth systems, though ancient by modern standards, still confounded the Nexus's detection grid just long enough. Target locked, the weapons officer reported. Firing solution prepared. Nathan hesitated for just a moment, acutely aware of the lives at stake. These weren't just military targets. The Nexus housed thousands of civilian workers and administrators. Tactical strike only, he emphasized. Minimum yield necessary to ignite the fuel reserves, and broadcast an evacuation warning on all frequencies. The warning went out, 30 seconds for all personnel to clear the target areas. Then, with surgical precision, the Horizon fired. The effect was catastrophic but contained. The fuel repositories exploded in a chain reaction, bright enough to be seen from neighboring systems. Secondary explosions rippled through the Nexus's industrial sector as power relays overloaded and coolant systems failed. Direct hit, Briggs confirmed, unable to keep the awe from his voice. Fuel reserves destroyed. Nexus power grid failing across all sectors. Signal the withdrawal, Nathan ordered. All ships, execute emergency jump to rendezvous coordinates. As the Horizon prepared to jump, however, the tactical display lit up with new contacts. The first wave of the GSC home fleet had arrived, earlier than expected, and at their head was a vessel that made even Nathan pause. The Dominance, the flagship of the GSC fleet, and personal command of Admiral Harrow. "They've locked weapons," the tactical officer reported, tension evident in his voice. "Multiple targeting solutions. They're preparing to fire." Nathan's mind raced, calculating options. The Horizon could withstand the assault, but the remnant vessels couldn't. A direct confrontation now would result in losses they couldn't afford. "Execute emergency evasive pattern," he ordered. "Interpose the Horizon between the GSC fleet and our remnant allies. Prepare for immediate jump once all vessels are clear." The Horizon moved with surprising agility, its ancient engines pushing it into position to shield the retreating remnant ships. The GSC fleet opened fire, energy weapons and projectiles impacting against the Supercarrier's shields. Shields holding at 82%, Briggs reported, as the bridge shuddered under the assault. "But they're coordinating their fire patterns. They're trying to create a weak point." "They won't succeed," Nathan replied with confidence, born of understanding the Horizon's capabilities. "Not in the time we need. Status of remnant vessels?" "Last ship jumping now. We're clear to follow." Nathan nodded. "Execute jump. Get us out of here." Space distorted around the Horizon as its jump drive engaged, tearing a temporary hole in reality. Just before they vanished, Nathan broadcast one final message to the GSC fleet. "This is only the beginning. Humanity will be free." Then they were gone, leaving behind a crippled Nexus, a furious GSC fleet, and a message of defiance that would echo across the stars. The aftermath of the Orath Nexus strike reverberated throughout the galaxy. The GSC, its supply lines severed and its military prestige damaged, found itself facing not just a military challenge, but a political one. More human colonies declared independence, emboldened by the success at New Thessia and the legendary return of the Horizon. But victory had its price. The GSC, humiliated and enraged, abandoned all pretense of moderation. Admiral Harrow, granted emergency powers by a panicked council, declared total war against what he termed Terran terrorism. Neutral worlds were pressured to choose sides, while GSC propagandists worked tirelessly to paint Nathan Hale and his allies as dangerous extremists bent on destabilizing galactic peace. More ominously, intelligence reports began to filter in about a specialized strike force assembled under direct GSC authority, the Black Lance, equipped with experimental weapons designed specifically to counter the Horizon's ancient but superior technology. Antimatter warheads, Lennox explained during a strategy session in the Horizon's war room. Her face was grim as she displayed the intercepted specifications. "They're retrofitting their fastest ships with these. One direct hit could penetrate even the Horizon shields." Nathan studied the data with growing concern. "They're getting desperate. These weapons violate at least 3 galactic conventions." "The GSC writes the conventions," Gareth pointed out bitterly. "They can rewrite them just as easily." "What's our move?" Briggs asked, always focused on the practical. "We can't hide forever, and we can't face the entire GSC fleet in open battle, especially not with these new weapons in play." Nathan was silent for a long moment, weighing options against risks, immediate gains against long-term strategy. Finally, he straightened. Decision made. "We need to change the narrative," he said. "Right now. This is a military conflict, one we cannot ultimately win through force alone, no matter how powerful the Horizon is. We need to make it a political one." "Politics," Briggs scoffed. "Since when has the GSC cared about political pressure?" "Since their own member worlds started questioning their actions," Nathan replied. "The GSC maintains power through the perception of legitimacy. If we can challenge that perception publicly, on their own ground." Gareth caught on immediately. "The aerostation. They're convening an emergency session there in 3 days to formalize the war declaration against us. Exactly. Nathan's eyes gleamed with determination. We're going to crash their party. The plan was audacious to the point of madness. While the GSC expected them to hide or strike at military targets, Nathan proposed taking the Horizon directly to Aero Station, the diplomatic heart of the GSC, where representatives from all member worlds would be gathered, not to attack, but to speak, to present humanity's case directly to the galactic community, bypassing the GSC's propaganda and censorship. But first, they needed to neutralize the Black Lance. Intelligence suggested the specialized strike force was assembling in the Chiron Expanse, a region of dense asteroid fields that would provide cover for an ambush against the Horizon when it inevitably moved toward Aero Station. So we spring their trap, Nathan concluded, but we do it on our terms. The Chiron Expanse was a navigator's nightmare, a chaotic mass of asteroids ranging from pebble-sized to planetoid-large, all in constant, unpredictable motion. Conventional wisdom dictated avoiding such regions entirely. But conventional wisdom hadn't accounted for a desperate GSC or a Terran supercarrier with jump capabilities that could navigate where others couldn't. They're expecting us to take the main transit corridor, Nathan explained, pointing to the tactical display. That's where they'll have their ambush prepared. Instead, we'll jump directly into the heart of the densest section of the field. That's suicide, one of the remnant captains protested. No ship can safely navigate that. The Horizon can, Nathan countered. Its sensors and computational systems were designed for combat in environments far more challenging than this. We'll hide among the asteroids, then launch our own ambush when Black Lance comes searching for us. It was a dangerous gamble, but one that played to their strengths. The Horizon's ancient but superior technology allowed it to predict asteroid movements with uncanny accuracy, finding safe paths where modern ships saw only chaos. They jumped into the expanse, the massive supercarrier appearing like a ghost among the tumbling rocks. Immediately, the ship's systems began tracking every asteroid within detection range, calculating trajectories and safe corridors. Black Lance vessels detected, the tactical officer reported, after several tense hours of waiting. 3 ships, heavy cruiser configuration, modified for speed. They're entering the expanse now. Nathan nodded, unsurprised. They're hunting us. Let them come deeper. The Black Lance ships moved with practiced coordination, sweeping through the expanse in a search pattern designed to flush out their quarry. Their sensors, though advanced, struggled with the interference created by the dense mineral content of the asteroids. They're approaching optimal engagement range, Briggs reported, his earlier skepticism replaced by tense focus. Antimatter warheads armed and ready for deployment. Wait, Nathan cautioned, watching the tactical display intently. We need them fully committed, unable to escape quickly. Minutes stretched into an hour as the Black Lance continued their search, moving ever closer to the Horizon's position. Finally, they reached the perfect spot, a relatively clear area surrounded by dense asteroid clusters, with limited exit vectors. Now, Nathan ordered, execute attack pattern Omega. Target their engines and weapon systems only. The Horizon emerged from hiding like a predator from shadow, its weapons already firing as it came into view. The Black Lance ships, though prepared for battle, were caught off guard by the suddenness and precision of the attack. 2 of the 3 vessels took critical hits in the opening salvo, their engines disabled before they could bring their devastating antimatter weapons to bear. The 3rd managed to evade, launching an antimatter warhead toward the Horizon before disappearing behind a massive asteroid. "Incoming warhead!" Briggs shouted, as alarms blared across the bridge. "Impact in 15 seconds!" "Deploy countermeasure drones," Nathan commanded, his voice steady despite the imminent threat. "Full spread, interception pattern." From the Horizon's hull, dozens of small drones launched, forming a defensive network in the warhead's path. They didn't attempt to destroy it directly. Antimatter was too unstable for that. Instead, they created a complex sensor jamming field that confused the warhead's guidance systems, sending it veering off course to detonate harmlessly against a distant asteroid. The explosion was nonetheless spectacular, a sphere of pure annihilation that briefly outshone the system's distant sun, disintegrating everything within a kilometer radius. "The third ship is attempting to escape," the tactical officer reported. "They've set course for the edge of the expanse." Nathan considered his options. Pursuing would expose them to more potential ambushes, while letting the ship escape meant the GSC would know their exact capabilities and tactics. "Let them go," he decided finally. "They'll report that their ambush failed, that their superweapons failed. The seed of doubt is planted. Now we move to Aero Station before they can reorganize." The journey to Aero Station was made in tense silence. Every crew member aware of the audacity, some would say insanity, of what they were attempting. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, a massive structure that served as the diplomatic hub for the entire GSC. Normally heavily defended, its security had been doubled in anticipation of the emergency session. "GSC Defense Fleet detected," the tactical officer reported as they dropped out of jump space within visual range of the station. 27 capital ships, defensive positions around the station. Nathan stood from the captain's chair, straightening his uniform. "Open a channel to the station, all frequencies." When the connection was established, he spoke not with military authority, but with the quiet conviction of one who knows their cause is just. "This is Captain Nathan Hale of the Terran Supercarrier Horizon. I request permission to address the Galactic Council directly regarding the status of humanity within the galactic community." The response was immediate and predictable. Admiral Harrow himself appeared on the communication screen, his face contorted with barely controlled rage. "You are declared enemies of the Galactic Security Council. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." "I come to speak, not to fight," Nathan replied calmly. "The Horizon's weapons are powered down. I will arrive with a small delegation, unarmed, to present our case directly to the Council representatives." "This is a trap," Harrow sneered. "A desperate ploy." "Then you have nothing to fear from allowing me to speak," Nathan countered. "Unless, of course, you fear the truth more than you fear our weapons." There was a long pause as Harrow visibly struggled with the dilemma. To deny the request would make the GSC appear tyrannical and afraid. To grant it would give legitimacy to the very movement he sought to crush. Finally, a new voice entered the conversation, the measured tones of the council moderator, the nominal head of the GSC's legislative body. "Captain Hale, your request is granted. You and 2 representatives may approach the station in an unarmed shuttle. Be aware that any deviation from this agreement will result in immediate defensive action." Nathan nodded graciously. "Understood and appreciated. Moderator, we will comply fully." As the transmission ended, Briggs turned to Nathan with disbelief. "You're actually going through with this? Walking unarmed into the heart of enemy territory?" "Sometimes the boldest move is the one they least expect," Nathan replied, echoing his earlier words. "Besides, we're not entirely without leverage." He gestured to the tactical display, where the Horizon's targeting systems had already calculated firing solutions for every GSC vessel surrounding the station. If this goes wrong, the Horizon will ensure no one leaves Aero Station alive, including us. I've made sure Harrow knows that. The shuttle journey to Aero Station was tense but uneventful. Nathan, accompanied by Gareth and Governor Elena from New Thessia, submitted to the station's security scans without protest. As promised, they carried no weapons, wearing formal attire rather than military uniforms, a symbolic gesture to emphasize that they came as representatives, not combatants. The council chamber was vast, designed to accommodate delegations from hundreds of worlds. Today, it was filled to capacity, Representatives from across GSC space gathered to witness what many expected to be a formal declaration of war against the Terran insurrection. Instead, they found themselves facing the very man they had gathered to condemn. Nathan walked to the central podium with measured steps, his posture straight, his expression resolute. The chamber fell silent as he surveyed the assembled representatives, making eye contact with as many as possible before speaking. "Distinguished representatives of the galactic community," he began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. 300 years ago, the Terran Dominion fell. Our worlds were occupied, our populations subjugated, our history systematically erased. This was not justice. It was revenge, cloaked in the language of security and peace. Murmurs rippled through the assembly, some angry, some uncertain. Nathan continued, undeterred. For 3 centuries, humans have lived as second-class citizens in a galaxy we helped build. Our colonies have been exploited, our resources stripped, our autonomy denied, all under the guise of preventing a resurgence of Terran militarism. Admiral Harrow rose from his seat, face flushed with anger. "This is propaganda. The GSC liberated countless worlds from Terran oppression. We established a peaceful order where none existed before." "Peace maintained through suppression is not peace," Nathan countered. "It is merely delayed conflict. And that conflict has now arrived." He activated a holographic display, showing footage from New Thessia, not of battles or destruction, but of ordinary humans celebrating their newfound independence, rebuilding with dignity and purpose. "This is what the GSC fears," Nathan continued, gesturing to the images. "Not warships or weapons, but the simple truth that humanity will not accept subjugation forever. The horizon is not a weapon of conquest. It is a shield, ensuring that human voices can no longer be silenced." A representative from one of the alien coalition worlds stood, their multifaceted eyes glittering with hostility. "The Terran Dominion slaughtered millions on my world. How can we trust humans with power again? The sins of our ancestors are not ours to repeat, but to learn from," Nathan acknowledged. "I do not stand here to justify the Dominion's actions or to call for its restoration. I stand for a future where humanity takes its place as an equal partner in galactic affairs, where all species recognize that security comes not from dominance, but from mutual respect." For hours, the debate continued. Accusations and counter-accusations, historical grievances weighed against present realities. Throughout it all, Nathan maintained his composure, answering each challenge with honesty and directness. Finally, as the session neared its conclusion, Admiral Harrow made his move. "Enough of this charade," he declared, rising to address the assembly. "Captain Hale is a terrorist, commanding a weapon of mass destruction. I call for an immediate vote to authorize total military action against all Terran insurrectionists." The moderator began the voting procedure, each representative's decision displayed on the massive tally board at the chamber's front. To Nathan's dismay, but not his surprise, the vote trended heavily toward Harrow's position, fear and old prejudices overriding the arguments for justice and equality. As the final votes were cast, Harrow approached Nathan, a smug smile on his face. "You see, your words mean nothing. Power is all that matters in this galaxy, and the GSC holds that power." Nathan met his gaze steadily. "You're wrong. This vote isn't the end, it's the beginning. Every representative here has heard our case directly, unfiltered by your propaganda. Every world watching this broadcast has seen that humans seek justice, not vengeance. The truth is out, Admiral, and it will spread." Before Harrow could respond, alarms sounded throughout the station. On the main display screen, emergency reports flooded in from across GSC space, more human colonies declaring independence, supported by elements of the Free Terran Remnant. Even more surprisingly, several non-human worlds were announcing their withdrawal from the GSC, citing the Council's betrayal of its founding principles. Harrow's face drained of color as he read the reports. "What have you done?" "Nothing," Nathan replied honestly. "This isn't my doing. This is the natural response to centuries of oppression. You thought the Horizon was the threat, but it was only a catalyst. The real power has always been with the people you've subjugated." As chaos erupted in the council chamber, Nathan and his delegation were escorted back to their shuttle, under heavy guard. No one attempted to detain them. The political situation was too volatile, the potential consequences of such an action too unpredictable. They returned to the Horizon in silence, each processing the magnitude of what had just occurred. It wasn't until they were safely aboard and underway, leaving Arrow Station behind, that Briggs voiced the question on everyone's mind. "What now, Captain? We've started something that can't be stopped. The GSC is fracturing, but they still have enough firepower to destroy everything we've built." Nathan moved to the forward viewport, gazing out at the stars that had witnessed humanity's fall, and now, perhaps, would witness its rebirth. "Now we build," he said simply. "We protect the colonies that have declared independence. We form alliances with like-minded worlds, human and non-human alike. We create a future based not on dominance, but on cooperation and mutual respect." "And the Horizon?" Gareth asked. "This ship represents power that could conquer worlds. Or defend them," Nathan corrected. "The Horizon remains a shield, not a sword. A reminder that humanity has the right and the ability to stand equal among the stars." As if in response to his words, the ship's AI activated the main communication array. "Incoming transmissions from multiple sources," it reported. "Human colonies requesting assistance, non-aligned worlds offering support, even elements within the GSC expressing sympathy with our cause." Nathan smiled, turning to face his crew. No longer just a collection of individuals, but the vanguard of a movement that was spreading across the galaxy. "Send the same response to all of them," he instructed. "The Horizon still flies, humanity still stands, and the dawn of a new era has just begun." The days that followed saw the galaxy transformed. The new Eros Declaration, as it came to be known, spread from world to world, its message of self-determination resonating not just with humans, but with all who had chafed under GSC authority. The Council itself split into factions, some calling for negotiation, others for even harsher military action. The Horizon and its growing fleet of allies moved through space like a banner of hope, defending newly independent worlds from GSC reprisals, providing aid and support where needed, always staying one step ahead of the forces sent to destroy them. And at the center of it all stood Nathan Hale, no longer just a captain, but a symbol of resistance and renewal. He had set out to reclaim a ship, a piece of human heritage long thought lost. Instead, he had ignited a flame that would forever change the shape of galactic society. As the Horizon sailed into the uncertain future, its massive engines propelling it toward a destiny yet unwritten. Nathan stood on the bridge, surrounded by his crew, human and non-human alike, united by a common vision of justice and freedom. "Set course for the outer colonies," he ordered, his voice firm with purpose. "There are still people who need to hear our message." The stars stretched before them, endless possibilities in a galaxy awakening to a new reality, one where humanity had risen from the ashes of defeat to reclaim not dominion, but dignity. The buried Supercarrier had risen, and with it, the hopes of billions across the stars. The galaxy had indeed panicked, but from panic came change. And change, Nathan knew, was just the beginning.